Hey guys, I just wanted to edit this in pretty quick because this is a pretty long video for me, and I have some pretty interesting information later on in the video. I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm going to leave a timestamp right here, as well as in the description below, so if you're like, I'm getting a little tired of you going on and on about stuff, but I do recommend you check that out because I was going to make an entire video based on that, but it made sense in the context of this video, so I decided to just kind of shoehorn it in, so make sure you check that out. So now on to the video. Hey guys, Chris here with theGoodOldGamer. So today I just kind of want to have a conversation. Just want to have a little chat with you guys about a few things out there and just my thoughts on kind of what's going on. So to start off with, yesterday our buddy Jim over at Adored TV, he posted this video right here. And in the video he had a few minutes in there that, well, it really resonated with me as I'm also on YouTube doing something similar, but he just felt like he was getting burnt out. He was getting tired of talking about the same things, and honestly, he feels like he's just bashing his head against the wall a lot of the time, and I can definitely relate to that. And then today, another buddy of mine, Paul over here at Not an Apple Fan, he had his moment, as I kind of referred to it. A few years ago, I had a similar moment. It's when you start getting into YouTube and you start looking at the tech industry and you start looking at AMD versus Intel and AMD versus Nvidia, and you get down to the nitty gritty and you're looking at the numbers all the time, you're reading all the comments, you understand the market and the troubles that's really out there a lot better when you are a YouTuber or somebody that's actually focused on the market pretty much 24/7. It's a completely different perspective than just being a regular fan and PC gamer and all of that. So he had his moment in this video right here where he needed to unload, and Paul's a very open fellow and tells it how he feels. He's a very emotional guy. I guess that's the way to do it. He wears his emotions on his sleeve and he translates that very well into his videos. Whereas my videos, at least as of late, have been more methodical, thought out, and planned out a little bit. This one, not so much. I'm just going off the cuff here. But in this video, he basically went over the fact that he can't believe that Nvidia won, basically. He realized that it's over. The game is over. Jim had a video very similar not too long ago. I've had a video. I think I had the aliens guy, you know, game over, man, game over. And, you know, unfortunately, it's the truth. The game is over, and it's not entirely just because of, you know, Nvidia. You know, Nvidia is actually doing well to a point. I mean, they keep introducing newer and better architectures. They're doing a pretty crap job marketing them because they're charging way too much and they're alienating a lot of people. But at the same time, they have new technology. It is faster. The performance per watt's going up. And that's the true metric of how good an architecture is. If you see decent performance per watt gains, especially on the same process node, essentially, that means the architecture is that much more efficient. And that's a sign of architectural increases. Whereas AMD, for the most part, has just been waiting around for a new node change, and as you can see what's happening with 7 nanometers, whether or not there's yield issues or something else going on out there, they're having some troubles, and relying simply on node changes all the time for your performance per watt improvements, this isn't going to work all the time, because sometimes those nodes don't work out. Nvidia kind of relies on both. If the node's there and they have their new architecture, boom, you get some big changes, much like with Pascal. It was kind of like the perfect storm. They went to supercharge Maxwell, and then they had the architecture change, or the node change right there. Now, 28 nanometers stuck around for a while, so they knew that 16 nanometers was coming. But had it got pushed, would Pascal still work on 28 nanometers? Maybe, if they absolutely had to, but Maxwell was actually supposed to be on 16 nanometers, and you saw how well that went. So Maxwell was actually supposed to be Pascal. So on 28 nanometers, Maxwell still did very, very well. So what I'm saying is that Nvidia does a really good job on the engineering side, and we can talk all day, which I typically do, about their marketing, their pricing, things like that, and just the way that they kind of screw over customers all the time, which, once again, that's what I do. But the vast majority of people out there, they simply don't care. The vast majority of people out there just want to buy a graphics card to play games. They don't want to think about it any deeper than that. They literally just go, all right, so how much is gaming worth to me? Okay, I got $200 in my pocket. What's available? And all they're going to do is search best $200 video card. So how about for shits and giggles, let's just do that ourselves. Best $200 video card. And let's just do 2019. I don't even think they'd go that far, but okay, so we have a 1660 Ti, a 1660 Ti, Red Dragon, RX 570. That's good to see there because, I mean, that's technically on the other side of $200. So, okay, you kind of have the up and down, but I want to spend $200. Okay, this one's $169. It's an RX 570. All right, cool. And then you have the GTX 1060. That's $209. Okay, so this is the closest card to my $200 that I want to spend. So more than likely, as an average person, I'll probably go with that. Although these two were the first two to pop up, so maybe I'll do a little research on these 1660s. Glad to see that the RX 570, which is technically the best overall performance per dollar GPU that there is right now, has two spots on there. But for the most part, you know, like I said, I'm looking for a $200 card. Boom, this is a $200 card. This might get a glance. It's a little bit cheaper, but this one's in the price range that I want to spend. So more than likely, your average buyer is going to either buy this one, and then they'll see the 1660 and go, oh, that's obviously the upgraded model. And this is the reason why Nvidia did this naming scheme. Okay, we got the 1060 right here. That's $200. You have the 1660. Okay, so that's just the next step up. That's the better one. And this one's $80. $80 more or $70 more. Well, if that person has that extra $70 to spend and they're like, maybe that's worth it, you know? But more than likely, the person wanting to just blow $200 on a video card, they're just going to buy this right here. Or if they're a really smart shopper, maybe they'll click on this article from Tom's Hardware. All right, what do we got? We got 2019. Well, shit, you have this thing at $1,300, so they're just going to ignore that entirely. $600? Nah. Okay, this is that $280 card that we were looking at before. Okay. Then we're showing, what was it, an AMD RX 580, and this is coming up at $328. This is a $100, $120 video card right now, so yeah, these definitely need to be updated here. So this paints AMD in a really shitty light. All I did was click the first link, and yeah, there's no way I'm buying an RX 580 if I had a $200 budget. Shit, that's $300. It's way past there. I might entertain this, but there's no way I'm buying an RX 580. Oh, and then we have a GTX, GeForce GTX 1053 gigabyte. I completely forgot that was even a freaking thing. Why the hell would you ever recommend this card ever? Who buys this? I didn't even, was there like 5 of them in stock? I don't know, whatever. But anyway, as the $200 shopper, the only 2 GPUs on here are this one, and this is below my budget, so I don't really want to go there. So I've seen this one come up a few times, so more than likely I'm going to go, you know, Newegg or Amazon. If I'm an average person, I'm going to go to Amazon and over Newegg because, well, what the hell is Newegg? Only PC guys and tech guys actually know what Newegg is. So more than likely, we're just going to buy this thing right here. Looks kind of cool. I mean, EVGA does a pretty good job with their box art and stuff. It's not as cool as what we had back in the day. I'm a big fan of the old ATI graphics cards. Actually, if anybody has boxes for the old ATI cards, especially, you know, the higher end stuff, the 9800, X800, X1900. The X1900 was my favorite. But anyway, if you guys have those, message me in Discord. I'll buy them off of you for a couple bucks. But anyways, so it looks fine. Okay, whatever. I've seen this one a bunch of times. There's only 17 left in stock. Holy shit, I should totally buy one. Which, by the way, I'll leave a link to this in the description. If you're like, holy shit, I want to buy one of these, please click on that because I get a couple of bucks. Doesn't cost you anything more. Helps me out. It's great. Anyway, you add it to cart, and then they buy it. So now they have a 1660 Ti. It's going to run just fine. It's going to play all the freaking games. More than likely, the average person's either gaming at 1080p or they have a 4K TV, and they're cool with like 30 frames per second or low settings or something. More than likely, they're probably gaming at 1080p if they're a PC gamer. This will handle that absolutely just fine. Boom, now Nvidia has a customer for life because the 1660 Ti did everything that they wanted it to do, and And that's it. That's all they really need to do. Just be advertised in front of these people on a regular basis and provide decent performance. That's really all these cards need to do. And it really comes down to the marketing. And Nvidia is way better than AMD at marketing. And that's the reason why their stuff comes up. And with the searches that we had before and with crap like this, where we have RX 580s showing at $330, they're just screwed. AMD is really, really just screwed because of their marketing. That's why every time they do something dumb, like the Radeon 7, I really jump down their throats. It's because they're hurting themselves. They're not helping themselves. They're literally hurting themselves with stuff like that. The average person does not care. And the average person is who buys the $300, $400 video cards on down. And the super enthusiasts are buying cards that are $500 on up. To me, honestly, there's nothing compelling in the $499 on up market right now, but that's because I understand the market and know where things land. But if let's say I got my tax return, I got $5,000 and I want to build the best gaming PC, and I see this and I'm like, oh shit, $1,300. And you see all the rest of these are so cheap. You're like, man, what the hell does this thing do? Does this like do the laundry? This thing's got to be so much better than these. Like, it's not even the same thing. It's a whole nother level or something like that. And if you watch reviews, that's what most reviews are going to say about this. So even the average gamer, if they just happen to have a lot of money, you know, maybe they went to the casino boat and just won big, who knows? And they're just like, okay, man, this is the best overall card and I've got $5,000 in my pocket. So why the hell not? There's not going to be too much other research than that because this thing looks like it's going to be at least like 5 times better than all of the rest of these, just sitting on a chart like this. Now, you and I know differently because we pay attention and we understand things. But once again, average people don't think like that. And this is the way marketing works. It doesn't matter what your actual performance is. You just need people to talk about your products and basically do the free marketing for you. You need AMD, Nvidia, AMD, Nvidia, AMD, and then this whole scenario would change. Same sort of thing goes here. I mean, we do have the two RX 570s, but they don't have anything around that $200 to $250, $300 range popping up on here. I mean, if they had an RX 580 on here popping up at $249, somebody might consider that because, you know, it'd be a little bit more than their $200 card. It's a little bit cheaper than this thing right here. So at least it would be in contention. But once again, if somebody actually cared and wanted to do a little bit of research, then they'll go to Tom's Hardware, and then that's where we got this. And then they'd be like, oh yeah, no, forget that thing. We'll just go with one of these. I do want to apologize a bit. I am just kind of going off the cuff and rambling and probably repeating myself a few times. But I wanted to give you guys my honest opinion of what's going on out there. For the most part, AMD can't win unless they get their whole shit in order. They need to have a compelling product that all the reviewers will say, don't buy Nvidia, buy this instead. So they need that. And really the only way that I can see AMD becoming the household name or actually taking over a significant market share again is to pull a Ryzen. And I know nobody really wants to hear this, but if AMD left the market for 4 or 5 years or 10 years or 20 years or whatever it actually takes, they do still need to make GPUs and stuff for their APUs. But other than that low end stuff, maybe, you know, the 150 on down category, but leave the high end market alone, pretty much the $200 plus market. If they just got out of that until, let's say, the next generation of consoles come out. They already got this generation locked down with Navi. Just wait until next generation. So that gives you 5 or 6 years. Take a step back, develop your R&D, and keep on building your process because NVIDIA is going to keep taking advantage of the market. They're going to keep delivering less and less performance for more and more money. They're going to keep cutting things down, and they're going to keep milking the market. Now, we do have Intel entering the fray here next year, and if AMD takes a step back, they can watch that play out and see what happens and learn something. Maybe Intel tries something that works really well. Maybe they try something and it fails miserably. And then they can learn from that and it costs them nothing. And they're not wasting their time trying to compete against the two of those guys. Let them kind of beat up on each other, see where the market is. And if Nvidia takes over, once again, they will continue to do what they do. And like I said, that's deliver less performance for more money, and they're going to keep alienating people as time goes on. And then once AMD does have a product that can compete top to bottom, just basically come in there and just steamroll, kind of like a 9700 Pro, like I mentioned a few videos ago. It comes out, steamrolls everything, and it's like, you have to buy this. Nobody's talking about any other thing except for the card that they come out with. And if it takes them a long time to do that, so what? As a company, it's really hard because you're basically forfeiting a market. I mean, they did not like what happened with Bulldozer, but it was actually probably the best thing that happened to them. They left the market, Intel got greedy, they delivered less and less performance each year. Now, they didn't go crazy with pricing, unlike Nvidia, but we got basically stagnation. They got complacent and just kept launching quad cores with 8 threads as their mainstream high-end CPUs. And what happened? Then they came out with the Ryzen 1800X and absolutely stomped the i7 7700K. Now, I know you can defend the 7700K. It's better at gaming. Well, it's worse at absolutely everything else, which that matters more than being slightly faster in gaming. Even to gamers, because gamers do other things besides gaming for the most part. So the 1800X delivered such a good value in comparison. Now, it did cost a lot more, but then you had the 1700 and 1700X, which were very cost competitive. And Intel basically was caught with their pants down, and their best solution was glue 2 7700Ks onto one die and then charge more money for it. And then you get the i9 9900K. Because technologically, it's really no better than a i7 7700K, except with double the cores, double the threads. But that's what happens when these big mega monopolies have the market to themselves for several years. Basically, AMD was absent from the consumer base and even server side. They were basically out of the CPU market for about 4 years, except for the very, very budget end. Basically, the sub $200 category, which Intel really doesn't care about anyway. So they got to run ham for a few years. They got lazy. They got complacent. I don't think Nvidia would get that lazy and complacent, but at the same time, Nvidia will raise prices instead. So whereas Intel just kept releasing the same thing over and over again, prices didn't go up that much. Nvidia will launch better and better products, but they will cost more and more and more and more. So until the point where basically the 60 series, the RTX 5060 might come out and be $1,000 or $800 or something. And entry-level GPUs now start costing $400 or $500. I don't think it'd ever get that extreme, but it could. I mean, if you left Nvidia alone in the market, it's entirely possible. And honestly, that's the only way that I can see AMD really being competitive again, is taking a step back. Launching something like the Radeon 7 is just dumb. It shows Nvidia where they're at technologically. They have nothing better than GCN at this time, and they're just not going to be very competitive. It also tells them that Navi, the ones that are going to launch this year anyway, will not be any faster than that card, because AMD is not going to undercut their own card. It might be close in performance to the Radeon 7, doubtful. More than likely it'll be on par with something like the Vega 64, Vega 56, somewhere in that range. So somewhere between the RTX 2060 and 2070 is kind of what we're assuming. Now, technically it could be anything, but the fact that we have the Radeon 7 now, it'll be slower than that. So Nvidia has nothing to worry about. Their 12 nanometer products are safe. So they don't have to hurry up and scramble and try to get out new products and actually compete, because there's not going to be any real competition. It's just going to be basically lower prices and just make it make sense. And Nvidia knows that they can charge more for the same class of GPU. In fact, they can charge more for a weaker GPU. And this was something that really pissed off Paul. So, for example, let's take a look over here at Newegg. Here's the RX 570s. They're selling for $129 with 2 free games. I remember not too long ago where I said that the RX 570s were selling for $129, and everybody's like, oh, that was a one-off, or why are you bringing this up? That's dumb. That was just like some special. Well, here it is again. It's happening again with the RX 570s at $129, and they're even giving you 2 free games. So, as Paul said, if you like the 2 free games, let's say you get like Resident Evil and Division 2 or something, for example, I mean, that's a $120 value, so you're getting a video card for essentially $10 if you were going to buy the games. It's absolutely crazy. Actually, it might have been Steve from Hardware Unboxed that said that in his video today. Best deal in gaming right there, hands down. And then we have the GTX 1050 Ti over here at $169. And yes, it does come with like some Fortnite bundle thing. Fortnite's a free game, so whatever. It's probably like in-game cash. So this is freaking worthless. Anyway, it's $170, and this card is on a tier below the RX 570. It's not even in the same league. In fact, the RX 570 is on par with the GTX 1060 3GB. Which, funny enough, right now you can get a GTX 1060 3GB for $159. So you can get this card cheaper than the GTX 1050 Ti, which is really, really stupid when you really think about it. But this is obviously just on sale when the rest of these cards are selling for $210. Sorry about that. The other one that I was pointing at was the GTX 1060 6GB. Looks like the 3GB are actually the same price as the GTX 1060 6GB. So looks like Nvidia's pricing is all kinds of screwed up. But regardless, all my points still stand. I mean, we're looking at, okay, let's say even if you compare the sale deal one, I mean, that's still $30 more. But, you know, between $30 and $80 more for the same tier performance. And that's... You can't do that. You can't do that forever. You can't deliver the same performance for that much less money with more memory, by the way. This only has 3GB. The RX 570 has 4GB of VRAM, which also will make it or help it last longer. Even though the Pascal cards do have a little bit better compression, you still need actual physical VRAM at a certain point in time. Regardless, that's really it in a nutshell. That's AMD versus Nvidia right now. They can't win. So going back to Paul's video here, he basically figured that out today, and I suggest you check out his video. His video is definitely more emotional, like I said earlier, and you can feel it, and you can feel how upset he is and how distraught he is, because it's a real shame, because we're not shilling for AMD. What we're shilling for is competition. When there's competitive products, like I just showed you, the RX 570 in comparison to the freaking GTX 1050, not only is it competitive, it's far superior, but they have to charge less money and give you free games just to get people to buy the things. The RX 570 is $179 MSRP, I believe. It's $179 or $189, something like that. Anyway, it's supposed to be higher than that of the GTX 1050 Ti. Worst case scenario, I could see AMD selling the RX 570s at a similar price point to get people to buy their card over the Nvidia card. But selling less than that while offering 40-ish% more performance is absolutely ridiculous. And this is just due to the fact, like I showed you before, the typical mindset of typical consumers. Not typical enthusiasts. Enthusiasts do homework and understand things, but the average person out there, they don't. And they don't care. And it doesn't bother them that there's no competition, because they'll just Google search best $200 video card 20 years from now until it says there are no $200 video cards. You should go F yourself. And at that time, then they're going to be really pissed. But if we get to that point where the budget GPUs start at $500, then everybody's boned. But realistically, it won't really come to that point. Either APUs will take over and be sufficient for most people, so there will be some sort of alternative solution at that point, or something else will fill that void, or Nvidia will just piss off everybody and their stock will crash, and then all you'll have left is AMD and Intel duking it out. So who knows what's actually going to happen in the future, but so my recommendation to AMD is to take a little hiatus, pull another Ryzen, take a few years, get your shit in order. And like I said, this is going to suck because you're leaving a market and you may never be able to get back in. But you can take that time, learn from Intel and Nvidia, see where things are going, develop something that's going to be extremely competitive. And like I said, you got to come out there with basically another 9700 Pro or something like a 290X at least. But we saw how well that worked out. That didn't take over the market for them, and that was only a couple of generations ago. Basically, you just need to have the all-around perfect product that just comes out and just makes everything else obsolete instantly. And until you have that, I just don't see what's going to happen. You're going to have to keep selling RX 570s at $129, and to me, that's a shame. Like I said, for Paul over there, him figuring that out here today, it's tough once you realize that there's nothing to be done. No matter how much I talk about it, it doesn't really matter. The only thing that I can hope to do with videos like these is to inform people that, A, we need competition. That means whether Nvidia has better graphics cards or not, buying Nvidia right now is a stupid idea, because all you're doing is building a monopoly. At this point in time, it's better to buy subpar graphics cards because it's better to support competition. Now, that's a shitty way to do things because now you're supporting basically failure. But there's only two options right now. The only other option that I see is to abstain and just basically back out of the market and buy used. That's actually more the way that I'm going, is I'm stepping back and I'm probably just gonna stay one generation behind, buy used cards, and basically give the finger to both of these companies. AMD, get your shit together, and to Nvidia, stop being fucking douchebags and stop overcharging for shit. Because I was getting really pissed off on this whole overcharging thing, and our good friend Anand from Anandtech, he called it pretty much like he saw it way back when. And I wanted to go all the way back to basically the start of the GeForce with this GeForce 2 Ultra here. Sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing. It's getting all stupid here on me. But the final words is really all you need from an NonTech review because they sum it up pretty damn well. And back in the year 2000, the GeForce 2 Ultra was $500. I didn't really realize that because nobody spent $500 on video cards back then. This card obviously existed. This was essentially the Titan of the time, but nobody spent this kind of money on video cards back in the day. And he nails it right here why it costs so much. It's because the price of the Ultra is heavily dependent on the availability of the ultra-fast 4 nanosecond DDR SD RAM. Basically, they were banking on really expensive RAM. This sounds familiar, doesn't it? HBM? Yeah. Basically, they pulled an HBM moment, so they had to charge a shit ton more money for it. But in this case, Nvidia just said, screw it, we're going to charge whatever we want, and if people buy it, they buy it. If they don't, fuck them. And that's kind of Nvidia's whole MO. They buy it if they buy it and fuck them if they don't. Now, the rest of this review, it goes on to saying basically, Nvidia basically brought out the fastest GPU possible, and they're banking on the fact that basically 3DFX, ATI, and everybody else is basically a step behind, because if they catch up, they can basically screw over Nvidia. If they can launch their cards a little bit ahead of schedule, Nvidia is really going to be royally screwed. But turned out it worked out okay for them in the end. But the big thing here is back in the year 2000, they were still charging $500 for video cards. Like I said, I didn't know that that was actually happening. Moving on a little bit forward, what I found interesting, because I remember looking this up for another video, back in the year 2003, so this is 3 years later, for the Radeon 9800 XT, they basically say the same thing. $500 video cards, there's no point in them really talking about it. It's because nobody buys them. It's not worth it. And basically they go on to saying $500 video cards are dumb. That's basically the conclusion. Buy something else. Because $500 video cards are too stupid to buy. So I went ahead to my inflation calculator and decided to see what $500 would equate out to being. And $500 today comes out to being $738.21. So basically, let's round on up. Just say $750. So what that says to me is the highest end graphics cards should only cost basically $750. And that's where we've been up until this generation. We had $699 on the GTX 1080 Ti, and that kind of falls right in line with where things were. And these graphics cards, nobody was suggesting back in the year 2000, year 2003, and it took a really long time before the market changed that people actually started recommending these top-tier graphics cards. So in my eyes, realistically, any graphics card past $750 is no longer a consumer-based product. We're talking, so that to me, the RTX 2080 Ti, that is something, it's a Titan. I mean, it costs as much as the Titans did last generation. It's a Titan-class GPU. It's not a consumer card. And in my mind, reviewers should not be using that card at all. They don't use Titan Vs. They haven't used that for examples, and they didn't use that for benchmarks or anything. So you should not be using the GTX or RTX 2080 Ti either. Cards that are outside the realm of this metric, so you take $500 in the year 2000, equate it out to current day money, and anything that is more than that should not be considered a consumer-based product. As at that point, you are breaking the upper boundaries of what has typically been considered the consumer graphics market. Sorry guys, I just wanted to throw that in there. It's just a little something I was thinking about. And, gotta always put some sort of facts and numbers into my videos because, well, that's what I do. But anyway, that's going to do it for me here today, guys. I know this has been kind of ranty and everything, but let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Check out the videos from Adored and Not an Apple Fan if you haven't. Links will be in the description below. And once again, like I said, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. I know it sucks coming to the realization that it's over. AMD cannot win doing what they're doing. They have to change the game entirely. And it doesn't look like they're going to do that anytime soon. So they're going to continue to struggle. I mean, I'm going to continue to buy their cards that are good and make sense and when performance per dollar are good. But anyways, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. If you like this kind of ranty stuff, let me know about that as well. And if you like the video, please hit that like button. Please subscribe. Please share with friends. That really does help me out. Thank you so much and have a great day. And I will catch you guys in the next video.